Champions League final at Wembley. On the stage that has hosted this game most times, the biggest club game on the planet. This stage has some really good characters and some pretty cool stories in that decision. It's up to us here to choose which would be the best, which would be the most dramatic or most beautiful story. Many people go for the obvious and tell the story of Marco Reus. Marco Reus is an interesting story. He didn't play his entire life at Borussia Dortmund. He spent his entire life at the academy, but he played elsewhere, including a spell at Borussia Mönchengladbach before returning to Dortmund, which has always been the club of his life. There, he was part of a historic team, that 2013 team that reached the Champions League final. Marco Reus has few titles in his career because, no matter how good Borussia was, or how much he made Borussia competitive, that generation let some titles slip through their fingers, including a European Champions League final. Marco Reus returns to the same stage where he was in 2013 and lost to Bayern Munich, a very painful final for Borussia Dortmund, as losing to their biggest rival in extra time with a Robben goal is very difficult. At that time, the process of dismantling the team was already underway. Lewandowski left later, Götze was in the process of leaving, Hummels later left and returned, and we're still going to talk about Hummels here. Klopp himself left at a certain point, so that team fell apart. Marco Reus remained as the flag of resistance, of loyalty, of permanence, playing against the obvious of going to a more competitive, richer, more winning club. He stayed, and now, at the end of his career, already as a reserve, a less relevant figure in the team structure, Marco Reus returns to a final. It's a significant story because he stopped winning big titles in his career by staying at Borussia. This is a choice, and also due to injuries. Reus could have been world champion in 2014, but it wasn't because he was injured. So, the biggest title of Reus' career, which he still doesn't have, is the Champions League, knowing that he will not continue at Borussia Dortmund. Another interesting character is Edin Terzic, the coach of Borussia Dortmund. Terzic has been a lifelong Borussia fan and has worked as a coach at Borussia for practically his entire career. He has 2 quick spells outside, but his life as a coach was entirely built at Borussia since the under-19s. He went down and up in various categories. He was an assistant, an interim at times. He even won the championship, and now he's in a Champions League final with a team that nobody believed in. Borussia were in a very difficult group. They were not favorites, but they not only passed but came first. The team improved, and the change of key from January to now made Borussia more deadly, safer. Borussia arrives in the hands of a fan who is very capable of winning the Champions League. It's obvious that Real Madrid are favorites, but Borussia could surprise. Another character is Mats Hummels. He is part of the historic 2013 team, left for Bayern Munich, a move that caused resistance and then returned. When he went to Bayern, he didn't win the Champions League as he expected, and as soon as he left Bayern to return to Borussia, Bayern won the Champions League. Hummels, who was also in that team that lost at Wembley in 2013, is now returning to Wembley to have a second chance to win the Champions League with the same team and to win his first Champions League. On the Real Madrid side, there are several peculiar characters. Carlo Ancelotti could achieve an unbelievable feat of winning his 5th Champions League as a coach, further isolating himself as the biggest winner. He would have 2 Champions Leagues with Milan and 3 with Real Madrid, which would probably make Ancelotti the greatest coach in Real Madrid's history. Toni Kroos is another character to look at fondly. He experienced a season of rotation with Modric in the starting lineup, but started more times. He returned to the German national team after announcing his retirement, playing as number 6. He had a sublime season, and this is his retirement season. Kroos goes to the farewell game, his farewell game to the sport, potentially winning the 6th European Champions League in his 7th final. Real Madrid are about to potentially add a few more players to their gallery of the greatest Champions League winners of all time. Currently, Paco Gento is the only player in the history of football to have won 6 Champions League titles, a remarkable feat and a record that has stood for decades. However, the merengue team has the opportunity to equal this historic mark through some of its veteran players. Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, Dani Carvajal, and Nacho Fernandez are some of the athletes who, if Real Madrid win the Champions League again, could achieve the 6th title in their careers. Each of these players has played crucial roles in the club's recent successes in the competition, contributing to Real Madrid's hegemony in Europe over the last decade. The possibility of these players joining Paco Gento in the pantheon of the greatest Champions League champions not only highlights Real Madrid's continued success, but also reinforces the importance of these athletes in the club's history. If that happens, it will be a testament to Real Madrid's dominance in European football and the dedication and talent of the players wearing the white shirt. With yet another achievement, Reus, Modric, Carvajal, and Nacho would further immortalize themselves in football history, solidifying their legacies as some of the greatest Champions League winners of all time. This would not only increase each player's individual prestige, but also perpetuate Real Madrid's legendary tradition as the most successful club in Europe's premier club competition. Vinicius Jr. has a very specific script. He can guarantee the title of best in the world in this game. Jude Bellingham was named the best player in La Liga, which has been questioned, but he is a risk for Vinicius in the fight for the best in the world, especially with the European Championship coming up. Bellingham will play in their country, being able to win a Champions League at home, which is very nice. Vinicius Jr. is, for me, the best player in the Champions League knockout stage and, again, a candidate for best player. This year's Champions League final promises to be a spectacle of emotions, full of touching and meaningful narratives. Each player brings with them a unique story, and it's up to you to choose which one resonates most with you. Here are some of the most exciting trajectories that we will be able to follow. For many, the most moving story is that of Marco Reus. The Borussia Dortmund captain has faced numerous challenges throughout his career, including several serious injuries that sidelined him at crucial moments. Reus is a symbol of perseverance and love for the club, and seeing him finally lift the Champions League trophy would be an emotional end to his journey of dedication and overcoming. On the other hand, Toni Kroos's possible farewell also carries a significant dramatic charge. The German midfield maestro has been a fundamental pillar in Real Madrid's achievements in recent years. His ability to control the game with precise passing and strategic vision made him one of the best players of his generation. One last dance in a Champions League final, culminating in another title, would be a worthy goodbye for a player of his stature. Vinicius Jr., the young Brazilian prodigy, also brings with him a powerful narrative. He has already demonstrated his talent in crucial moments, and securing a Ballon d'Or would be an incredible validation of his potential and brilliant performances. Seeing a young player achieve such recognition would be an inspiring story for many young athletes around the world. Jude Bellingham's trajectory is equally fascinating. At 20 years old, the Englishman has already won the hearts of fans with his maturity, skill, and leadership on the field. His meteoric rise and the chance to establish himself as one of the best young players in the world in this final are reasons for great expectation. Bellingham embodies the future of football, and to see him triumph would be a testament to the emerging talent in the sport. Which of these stories is his favorite? Leave in the comments which narrative inspires you the most or touches your heart.